Hey, Christy Renee here with Christy Renee Healing Ministries and mindrewire. I just wanted to get on for a quick second and talk about emotions because I think the way we understand them is a little bit confusing. And if you're trying to get out of trauma or you're trying to make yourself feel better about something, sometimes the way we go about it isn't helpful. I just got off the phone recently with a young lady, and she's fighting with rage and anger and different things from her past. And so she wants help clearing some of that up, and getting deeper into her own spirit to get to know herself, her real self, better. And one of the things that she talked about over and over was that she can't feel anything, any good emotions. And I remember being like that. I remember had no idea what happiness felt like. I didn't know what that word, I knew what it meant based on a definition, but I didn't know how to feel it. And a lot of times, I think what happens is we get locked into an um, emotional home, emotional place, and it's kind of our homeostasis. It's where we always go, right? You go back to that particular feeling. And especially if it's a lower level emotion, if it's like rage or anger or sadness or grief or, pick any of those, you tend to get stuck there. And so people will think if I get rid of that, right? If I get rid of my rage, I'll be the opposite, right? So if I get rid of rage, I'll be some essence of happy. If I get rid of anger, I'll be, right, whatever. If I'm not sad, I'm happy. If I'm not, right, you get the idea. So that's not necessarily true, unfortunately. Um, what I have noticed with a lot of people, including myself, was that when I got rid of my anger, I was not automatically happy. I still didn't know how to be happy. Um, I think it's odd the way we talk about emotions like you can choose whatever emotion you want, but if you don't know that emotion, it's hard to choose. It's hard to choose happiness when you don't know what happiness feels like. And if that comes down to the core of your body not working properly, the hormones and the chemicals that would give you a feeling of happiness, right? Because you've been saturated in chemicals that are stressful for so long, it can take a while to switch that on, I suppose. And so, you get people to try and think of a happy time in their life. And if you're stuck in fight and flight, if you're stuck in rage or anger, or you're stuck in some kind of lower level emotional value, it's hard to think of anything happy, right? That we would consider happy. So just because you turn the anger off doesn't mean you automatically get happiness. What I have noticed is that a lot of times people will end up feeling what they call the word numb, right? So you just feel kind of numb. You don't feel anger, but you're not happy. You're just kind of in this numb place. And we generally associate that as a bad thing. And I want to present to you that perhaps it is not. Being numb can be the equivalent of some kind of neutrality. So you're in a neutral state. You're not in a low state. You're not in a high state. You're in the state of neutrality. My understanding is that is the equivalent of some level of peace. And I say level because I think there's levels of peace. You can be peace on peaceful on one end, all the way up to the idea of the peace that passes all understanding, which is like if you have ever felt that peace, it's just like, oh, it just makes you, oh, I can't even describe it. Um, so you can go from like I've released the neuropeptides that cause rage. I've released the chemical construction of rage, which it is what it is, right? So even in your brain, if there's something you think about that causes the rage, once you release the chemical neuropeptides, once you release all that stuff, even the thought process starts to change. You'll notice it doesn't come up as much. If you bring it up in your brain and you start hounding it, right? You start going after it, thinking about it and chasing it around inside your head, you can get that feeling right back, right? Which is a choice. You're choosing to feel rage. And you know rage, so it's easy to choose because you know it. Now, if you were not taught happiness, and I say it this way because it's how I experienced it. This is my experience. I was not taught happiness. I don't feel like I came from a happy home. It was not that. We were taught all kinds of emotions like fear and upsettedness and frustration. I was taught frustration super well. But happiness wasn't one of those. And to say, oh, just be joyful, I go blank. I didn't know what joy was. I have a hint of it now. I know what happiness is now. I have felt happiness, had no idea what joy was. Bliss, I can call in just by vibration because I can play with the vibrations of it. So I can get it just from calling it in, right? Just by using the word, and I get this feeling. And to me, that's happiness, right? So it depends on how you define some of this stuff. And it's so interesting. When you start working on yourself, when you start this journey, if you're just starting this journey, I want to give you some mad props for starting, first of all, because it's not an easy thing to put yourself through. You're basically giving up your whole self to find your whole self, if that makes any sense. And learning new emotions can be hard, and it can be cumbersome, and it can be embarrassing. I went through a period of time when happiness started coming over me. Oh, lack of a better word to say it. I don't think I ever smiled. I might have, but I don't remember it. I recall being very conscious of just walking around with a smile pasted to my face all the time. And I would walk through a mall or something and nothing going on around me, but I couldn't stop smiling. And it was so bizarre to me. I was just like, what on earth is this? But it just felt so good. It felt so good. So losing my anger did not cause happiness. The vibration of happiness from my spirit caused happiness. Does that make sense? Anything that I tried to do outside of me to cause happiness was a failure. And I would hedge to say to this day, I'm not very good about causing happiness from the material world. But to go into my spirit, go into my I am self and cause happiness, call it in, I can absolutely do that. And it's kind of the way I learned how to experience the higher level emotions. And I do the rabbit ears because higher, lower, I don't think that exists. It's just the way we look at it from this plane of material, right? This material world. In a vibrational state, it gives you a better experience in the physical realm if you're in what we consider the higher vibrations. And sometimes you have to learn them. Sometimes you have to figure out, what does it mean to be happy, right? If you have contact with your spirit, you just go to spirit and ask, I am, show me the feeling of happiness. It's that easy. It really is. And it's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it that way. I am, show me bliss. I am, show me love, right? Because if I'm loved, then there's love around me. If I'm happy, there's happiness around me. And the people around you have to work on some of this stuff too. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen, period. You have to work on it. You have to find it, right? We had it beat out of us. A lot of us did. And you have to decide, and this is probably where the choice part comes in. You have to decide it's something you're going to go and chase after, you're going to go and get. So there's that. I hope that was helpful. I hope it made some kind of sense. And the feeling of anything, you can find the feeling of anything. Play with vibrational aspects of things like peppermint. Peppermint's an easy one, right? If you have peppermint oil, go smell it and then leave it for a while and then call it back to you. You'll smell it, you'll taste it, you'll get that, right? That opening sensation peppermint gives you. Same thing. Every vibration works that way. It won't give you the same feelings. It'll give you whatever its value is. Happiness is the same way. I can call it in now, but I'm calling it in from my spirit, not from the outside world. I can call in the effects of basil. I can utilize the medicinal effects of basil and oregano just by calling it into me. It's how this works, right? It's all vibration, right? So interesting. All of this is so interesting. Anyway, okay, I'm going to jump off, and I bless you. I thank you for being here. I keep trying to see the time down there. I was trying to keep it under 10 minutes. I hope this helps. If it does, comment below. What made sense to you? What did I need to explain better? Let me know what I can say differently, or if there's maybe some way you've experienced it differently. I would like to know that also. And comment, like, and share. Thank you so much. Blessings.